The Frog Prince, a grim bedtime story. One fine evening, a young princess put on her bonnet and clogs and went out to take a walk by herself in the woods. When she came to a cool spring of water that rose in the midst of it, she sat herself down to rest for a while. Now she had a golden ball in her hand, her favourite plaything, and she loved to toss it up into the air and catch it again as it fell. After a time, she threw it so high that she missed it as it came down, and the ball bounced away along the ground until at last it rolled into the spring. The princess leaned over and looked down into the water, but the spring was so deep that she could not see the bottom. She began to cry, saying, "Alas! If only I could get my ball again, I would give all my fine clothes and jewels and everything I have in the world." While she was speaking, a frog popped his head out of the water and said, "Princess, why do you weep so bitterly?" "Alas," said she, "what can you do for me, you ugly frog?" "My golden ball has fallen into the spring." The frog replied, "I want not your pearls, nor your jewels, nor your fine clothes. But if you will love me and let me live with you, eat from your golden plate, and sleep upon your bed, I will bring you your ball again." "What nonsense this silly frog is talking," thought the princess. "He could never even get out of the spring to visit me, though he may fetch my ball." So she said aloud, "Well, if you will bring me my ball, I will do all you ask." The frog put his head down, dived deep under the water, and soon came up again with the golden ball in his mouth. He placed it on the edge of the spring. Overjoyed, the princess snatched up her ball and ran home as fast as she could, never thinking another moment about the frog. Behind her he called out, "Stay, princess! Take me with you as you said!" But she did not stop to listen. The next day, just as the princess had sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise. Tap, tap, plash, plash, as if something were climbing the marble staircase. Then came a gentle knock at the door, and a small voice cried, "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said, by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." The princess ran to the door and opened it, and there stood the frog. She had quite forgotten him. At the sight she was terribly frightened, slammed the door shut and hurried back to her seat. The king, her father, noticed and asked what was the matter. "There is a nasty frog at the door," she said. "He lifted my ball out of the spring this morning, and I told him he might live with me, thinking he could never get out of the water. But now he's here." The frog knocked again and repeated his little song. Then the king said to his daughter, "As you have given your word, you must keep it. Go and let him in." Reluctantly, she opened the door. The frog hopped into the room, tap, tap, plash, plash, across the floor until he came to the table. "Pray lift me upon your chair," said the frog, "and let me sit next to you." She did as he asked. Then he said, "Put your plate nearer to me, that I may eat from it." She obeyed, though unwillingly, and when he had eaten his fill, he said, "Now I am tired. Carry me upstairs and put me into your bed." The poor princess hesitated, but she had to keep her promise. She carried him upstairs and placed him upon the pillow of her bed, where he slept all night long. When morning came, he hopped downstairs and went out of the house. "Now then," thought the princess, "he's gone at last, and I shall be troubled with him no more." But she was mistaken. That night she heard the same tapping at the door, and again the frog sang, "Open the door, my princess dear. Open the door to thy true love here, and mind the words that thou and I said, by the fountain cool in the greenwood shade." Once more she let him in. and once more he slept upon her pillow until morning. The third night, the same thing happened, but when the princess awoke in the morning, she was astonished, for instead of a frog, there stood a handsome prince gazing upon her with the kindest eyes she had ever seen. He told her that he had been enchanted by a spiteful fairy who had turned him into a frog, and that only when a princess took him out of the spring, let him eat from her plate, and sleep upon her bed for 3 nights, would the spell be broken. "You," said the prince, "have freed me from the enchantment. Now come with me into my father's kingdom, where I will marry you and love you as long as you live." The princess, overjoyed, quickly agreed. As they spoke, a splendid coach drew up before the door, with 8 beautiful horses decked in golden harness and feathered plumes. Behind it rode the prince's faithful servant, Heinrich, who had mourned his master's misfortunes so bitterly that his heart had almost burst. They took leave of the king and set out together in the shining coach, full of joy and laughter, bound for the prince's kingdom. And there they lived happily for many, many years. The end.